All right, hopefully this thing is on. Okay, it looks like we're streaming now. Good evening to our associates and those we call friends on Facebook. This is Scotty of Black Talk Media Project and Black Talk Radio Network. I just got through doing, wrapping up the live streaming for the night. Usually I would actually still be on air processing some of the podcasts, but one of the shows canceled tonight, the last show of the night. So I got done a little early, and I actually was about to call it a night, but I wanted to check our social media accounts to see if anything was left or anything that I need to take care of. And so anyway, we're always posting stuff. I have several, well, I should say the Black Talk Media Project manages several different profiles on social media, and we use it as a tool to get information out to the masses. Now, one article, well, it was a couple of articles that I recently shared on Black Talk Radio Network. And those articles, one of the articles was addressing reparations, the whole conversation about African Americans or black people in America and whether or not they're owed reparations. So that long running debate, I just simply shared somebody else's thought along with the article that they shared. And so a comment was left by a person who identifies as a Moor. And I've done this before. I've tackled this issue in the past. And why do Moors feel the need to argue with other victims of racism about what they're calling themselves, as if calling yourself a Moor is some kind of magic phrase or magic name that's going to get you a pass on racism and white supremacy? As if you get pulled over driving while black, that you tell the slave catcher, oh, I'm a Moor. And the slave catcher going, oh, you're a Moor, you're not a regular black, oh, I'm just going to let you go. Okay? Come on now, stop being silly, stop being ignorant, and stop attacking people about how they self-identify. So I want to address those. I'm going to show you those comments. I've done a video in the past because this is something constant. Well, I'm not going to say constant, but I've seen it more than a couple of times in reply to stuff I posted from Moors. There was actually a Moor who was on Race Treaty the other night. And I'm just noticing maybe it's the way they talk or excuse me, the way that they are taught. But I pick up on the same arrogance, the same disrespect towards other victims of racism. And let's make no mistake, they too are victims of racism. It doesn't matter what you call yourself. It's what white people call you. It's what, more importantly, racist white people call you. So you can call yourself a Moor. You can call yourself whatever. It don't matter. Your name don't matter. Your nationality do not matter to racists. So when I see Moors, people who call themselves, and I don't bag on them for calling themselves Moors or identifying as Moors, they have a right to self-determination. But what I don't like with them is they don't respect other people's right to self-determination. And they want to use derogatory language and silly little things and telling black people, oh, you shouldn't call yourself black. So I'm going to share some of those comments with you. Now, also, there was another article that I shared in terms of the power of media. In this particular article, I did not write the article, somebody else wrote the article. And they were just talking about how media controls the minds of the masses, which is a proven scientific fact. And when we're talking about media, usually media is following a script or programming script. So that's what the article was about. And I think the headline was something to the effect of, Black America needs to turn off the script or flip the script. And so now here comes not a Moor, but here comes, I call them full of rice. All right, these are people who follow the teachings religiously of Neely Fuller Jr., who has great commentary, great insights into the system of racism. He has added his contribution. I respect his contribution. I do not agree with everything that he says, but a lot of what he says about the system is logical. But you have these people, they act like they have a cult mentality, and they will attack people, other victims, claiming that they're ignorant. Yes, when you post a meme or you post a quote to another victim saying that if you don't understand racism and white supremacy, everything else will confuse them, you're basically insulting them and calling them ignorant. And I see that phrase used like that all the time. And it actually goes against what Neely Fuller teaches himself. I listen to the clips on YouTube. I listen to his program when I'm not producing my own program or producing somebody else's program. I've read some of the Code book. I haven't read it all, but I've heard enough, being that there is a program on Black Talk Radio Network called The Context of White Supremacy that focuses a lot on his work. So I'm not ignorant, being that I've been exposed to his work for the past 8 years. And what I'm finding with a lot, I shouldn't say a lot, but more than a few Fullerites, is that they even misapply what Mr. Fuller is teaching. So when you come at black people, I think this person said something about there's no such thing as black America. And I was like, but you know what they meant. You know they was talking about black people in America. So why are you bashing victims over the head, talking about they don't understand racism and white supremacy because they use the term black America? You know what they talking about. I know what they talking about. I know who they talking about. So whether this black America exists or not, that isn't the point. The point is that the article was telling black people to turn off killer radio, to inform black people how they're being programmed by media. And so, you know, when you beat people over the head with a quote from Mr. Fuller, you come off as arrogant. You also kind of make him look arrogant. And again, many of them misrepresent the things that he has said. So let me jump to the first. So I want to address those two type of people, because black people do need to stop squabbling. Or if you find that people that anytime they come into your space or you come into their space, that they always want to nitpick, they always want to squabble with you, then you need to keep it moving. I'm only addressing it because I work in the media, been working in the media for the past 8 years, and I just want to use this as a teaching tool, just offer my thoughts on what it says. So let me pull this up. Pull up these clips right quick. Just give me a moment as my screen attempts to transition. That should come up here. I've been doing a lot of streaming. Probably should have restarted my, okay, here we go. All right. So that's a lot that this person wrote. This person wrote this in reference to an article that was posted to Black Talk Radio Network's profile page talking about reparations. I think Yvette Carnell had shared an article and she had made a comment. If y'all don't know who Yvette Carnell is, she's the publisher of Breaking Brown. So she has shared this article about reparations, and she made some insightful comments. So I shared that to Black Talk Radio Network's page. So this is the response from this person on the article or the comments on the, let's just say, the post. So this person, I immediately identified them as a Moor just based off the name. All right, so this person, you can see their name right there, but let me read what they say, because you may not be able to read it. But he says, let's make this clear for the record. Black people, when he puts black in quotations, black people will never receive reparations. Remember, reparations is something that happens between nations, not between a nation and people who think they are crayons. Oh, and then he puts black in parentheses. So again, he's insulting the intelligence of people who use the term black, which includes a whole lot of people a lot smarter than me who have done more to counter the system of racism than I have, and probably he has. Stevie Biko, the great South African organizer. He started an organization, I think it was Conscious Black something, thinkers, something along that term, but he used the term black. Many people, the Black Panther Party, have used these terms. People in the Caribbean, they refer to themselves. All it is a term. It is a term. So let me continue reading. He says, you cannot come before the civilized world. See, he sound like one of these racist crackers. The crackers talk like that. The civilized world and the uncivilized world. Okay, so anyway, he goes on, you cannot come before the civilized world claiming to be something you are not and expect justice. People who are not equitable cannot receive equity. For example, remember when Trayvon Martin's mother and the mother of Eric Gardner attempted to go to the United Nations and were turned away? Actually, they were not turned away. We covered extensively those trips to the United Nations. We even interviewed some activists from Chicago who also went on that trip to the United Nations. Not to mention, we have a program called Race Treaty that comes on, I mentioned that earlier, that comes on Friday nights on the network, that often brings on guests, as well as some of the hosts who are involved in human rights. And they have spoken before the UN. Actually, one of them is a part of a UN panel and all that. So nobody got turned away. Trayvon Martin and them family did not get turned away. And then again, this is ignorance. This is a lack of information. The United Nations just sent in 2016 during the summer. Again, if you was tuned in to Black Talk Radio, you will have this information. But they came to the United States to do a fact-finding mission in regards to reparations and the mistreatment of Black people, African Americans, whatever you want to call them. All right, but we all know who they're talking about, the victims of racism and slavery in this country. And on that fact-finding mission, when they came over here, they had all these different hearings in different cities. Baltimore was a city. I interviewed somebody who participated in that presentation. They went to, I think, Jackson, Mississippi. So they went to these different cities. These NGOs, non-governmental organizations, and grassroots activists gave evidence and gave testimony about the United States mistreatment, historical mistreatment, and current mistreatment. And so after the panel wrapped up its tour of the United States, this fact-finding mission, they came out with a recommendation saying the United States owes Black people here in America reparations, not just for slavery past, but for slavery present, even if they call it mass incarceration, and for terrorism. So see, right there, you can tell this person is ignorant. He's uninformed. He is not abreast of current events, and he speaks on that which he apparently knows not. So no, they did not turn those people away from the UN when they tried to go there. Okay, let me see. It goes on to say, it's because they are in dishonor, claiming to be that which they are not. This is the source of so-called Black people's problems. Well, I would disagree with you there, because the source of Black people's problem is not what they call themselves. The source of Black people's problem is slavery, racism, which is white supremacy. That's the source. So if you think that Black people using the term Black, or Black people using the term African American, has any kind of bearing, if that's the source of their problems, I can show you, I can give you historical evidence that is not the case. So when the indigenous tribes were here before the arrival of the European, what were they calling themselves? Did they have a nation? Did they have many nations of indigenous tribes here on the continent? Did they know what the name their ancestor gave them? Did they know the name of their tribe or their people? Yes, they did. Did that stop racist, white supremacists, genocidal maniacs, and land thieves from practicing racism and genocide against the Indians? Okay, against Native Americans, or against any people anywhere on the planet that Europeans have gone to conquer? Doesn't matter what your name is. Doesn't matter what your nationality is. It doesn't matter what tribe you belong to. What matters is the color of your skin to a racist white supremacist. Okay, you can call yourself a Moor. You can call yourself whatever you want to say. Call yourself. It does not matter what you call yourself, because they going to call you what? They going to call you nigger. And you going to be treated accordingly. They don't care what your name is. They don't care what set you representing, because they know what set they represent, and you ain't in they set. All right, so let me continue. At law, you are 3/5 a person with no name and nationality. Whatever you believe is irrelevant. This is what is happening at law until you confess under your own vine and fig trees and claim your nationality. Black people will continue to suffer. It's that simple. Saying that you are black is the same as the term colored at law. It's defined as a prima facie, a semblance of simulacrum, Latin for fake, like Similac is fake breast milk, as distinguished from that which is real. When you call yourself black, you are calling yourself a fake person at law. Do fake people get human rights? I'll ask like this. Do the movie Land Wax Museum, I've never seen it, figures in Hollywood get human rights? So he probably mistyped it there. I don't know what he's talking about. What you profess with your mouth is a trust, calling yourself black, and you are held to it. I implore you all to please study so you can fully understand what is really going on. We are Moors and are aboriginal, indigenous to this land. Moors are not aboriginals or indigenous to this land. Moors come from Northern Africa, and I get more to that because I do study and I do read a lot and about history. So anyway, he goes on. Only by claiming your Moorish heritage. See, this is getting into the arrogance. This is getting into also arrogance and ignorance is not a good mix. All right, but if you just call yourself Moorish heritage and prima genature birthright status, can we be in our proper person to trump the ens legis and demand reparations, restoration? Until you are ready to do that, you're wasting your time even talking about it. Well, let me tell you this, because I come across this before. This is why you don't see Moors on my network, all right? Because they don't know how to share their knowledge without talking down to people or acting like they got all the answers, and they ain't solved nobody's problem. They ain't even solved their own problem. And he want to mention the UN earlier, right? I don't see any kind of nation called the Moors or anything like that with a seat at the UN. All right. First, and backing up on the history, let's look at the etymology of the word Moors. Where does that word come from? Well, I did the research. I actually did a video showing you the documentation in the video that Moors is a European term that means what? Translates to what? To black, fool. I'm sorry, I shouldn't engage in name calling. I shouldn't call people fools, but I'll just say you're ignorant even about the name Moor. Go look up the etymology. Look up the source, the root word. All right? You quoting Latin and all that, you in the right place. All right? Moor means black. And then Moors, and I did more research on this, but Moors also historically were Berbers, a mixture of Berbers, Arabs, and Ethiopians in northern Africa. That is where the Moorish Empire originated from. Guess where that is today? That's Libya. Guess who's a Berber? Gaddafi was a Berber. Okay? So the Moorish Empire, there's even have been white Moors because they would convert to Islam. So Moors also were Muslims that practiced Islam. All right. So you can tell that from their names and some of the phrases that they use. But so again, here this person is calling people or insinuating that people are ignorant and fools for self-identifying as black. and calling himself a Moor when that's a European name for the word black. Look it up. I don't have to lie to you. We live in the IT age, information technology. Use a computer and look this up if you doubt what I'm saying. Again, I did a video on this showing you my sources and everything. And in some parts like Italy, Moor is a derogatory term for black people, for non-white people. All right. So you would go over there and they call you a Moor and you think, oh, they recognize who I am. That's right. Get it right. I'm a Moor and all this. And they mean it as white people in America calling you a nigger. Don't take my word for it. Go look this information up. So off gate, when they come at you like that, because we don't study, because we don't read, we don't look up the definition of words, then we just assume that these people know what they're talking about. That is asinine to be squabbling with black folks over what they call themselves or anybody calling themselves anything, because apparently a whole lot of people, even nations, you want to talk about belonging to a nation, people belong to nations have been destroyed by USA Inc. Look at Libya. Them people know who they are. They Libyans, okay? They know what tribe they belong to in Africa and all of that. They belong to a nation. Did that stop the United States and its European allies from bombing the hell out of them and murdering them? And now look at the country. So what does your name got to do with racism and white supremacy? What does it matter what nation you belong to? All that matters is you're non-white in a system of racism and white supremacy. You can call yourself whatever you want to call yourself, but the only thing that matters to the people in charge that's running the system is what they call you, and they call you a nigger. That's what they call you. Let's just be honest. So you want to cite, I hear them citing treaties and all of that. Well, if there was any kind of let's say, if the proof was in the pudding, then how come these people are still suffering like other victims? They still suffering under the same system that we suffering. So again, stop squabbling with people about what they call themselves. People have a right to call themselves whatever they want to call themselves. Okay? At times I'll refer to myself as an Afro-Carolinian because I know my indigenous roots to this land that I'm on. Okay, so it doesn't matter what you call yourself in a system that's mistreating people based on skin color. It ain't based on your name. It ain't based on your nationality. It's based on your skin color. Now, let me move to the fuller right. So we had this fuller right leave a question or a comment on a post that was warning black people about the media script and how media is used to destroy them, to plant stuff in their minds, to program them to act in a certain way. And this article was saying, void the script. Black America, it's time to flip the script, is what they said. So what did this person get out of this article about the power of media? Well, I doubt they read the article. They just read the headline that said something about Black America. All right, so this is what they said. Okay, they put it in quotation what the script said. What the post said. It says, throw away the script, how media bias is killing Black America. All right, so instead of reading the information that was being presented in the article to see if they know what they're talking about, if they've identified an element of the system and they need to warn other people about, what is this person focused on? There is no Black America. America is an ideal that is yet to be realized. Americans don't practice racism. The white people who practice racism do. There is no script. You are living within a global business system of white supremacy racism. The system of white supremacy is functional racism. And again, with the memes, if you do not understand white supremacy racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Neely Fuller Jr. So again, these people use Neely Fuller Jr.'s quote as a bludgeoning tool to beat people over the head that they may have a disagreement with. But I'm going to play something from Neely Fuller that was actually played, and I'm glad they played it, and it was played for a reason. Because the universe knew I was going to come across this situation. But they played a clip on the Code Breakers on Tuesday night of Mr. Fuller talking about black people arguing with other black people, and also about victim qualification, which means that victims of the system of racism can say whatever they want to say. They can use whatever terms work for them. They can come up with definitions that they can understand, that they don't have to adhere to Mr. Fuller's code book as if they're Christians and that's their Bible. Okay, so they misrepresent what Mr. Fuller says, but they want to squabble on a Facebook page about somebody using the term Black America. You know what they meant. You know they were referring to victims of racism within the confines of the United States of America. So again, this person made 8 more posts. I went at them and I basically said what I just said to you, that people have a right to self-determination, and that you shouldn't be beating people over the head like they ignorant. With Mr. Fuller's quote, it comes off as ignorant and it is unconstructive. It comes off as arrogant and it is not constructive. So this person want to post a whole bunch of more stuff, post a whole bunch of more quotes from Mr. Fuller, post some stuff from Dr. Frances Welsing. I think that I may be messing up her name, excuse me. Post all that. Now, this was in like, I hadn't even read this in 2 days, but I was checking our Facebook page and it gave me this notification and I see all of this post. Do you think I read all that? No, because I'm following my New Year's resolution was to not be squabbling with people, make my point and move on, instead of spending an hour writing a book on the internet, and I may never change this person's mind about anything. Okay, so I'm only bringing it up now as a teachable moment. See, this is one of the hindrances to unity in the black community. Whether we're talking about Muslims, whether we're talking about Christians, whether we're talking about whatever set you repping, okay, and that you think your way is the only way and it's the right way, and ain't nobody figured out a way to end the system, or it would not exist. So we're still all trying to figure out this problem. And when we beat people over the head, when we're disrespectful, when we act like we got all the answers and what have you, it's not going to lead to us coming together and overthrowing the system of racism and white supremacy, which has been practicing slavery globally, not just in this country. This is home base for modern day slavery and human trafficking, but they've been doing it for 500 years. So it don't matter if people say Black America, you knew exactly what they meant. You want to nitpick about whether a Black America actually exists, you know they was talking about a people. See, so anyway, again, a lot of these people they put Mr. Fuller work out there, but they don't practice the principles that he put out. Now I'm gonna let Mr. Fuller speak to what he was talking about name calling, about people, how they identify, and about these terms and words. So let's go ahead and cue that up. Give me just a second. Let me get this thing queued up. All right, here we go. This is Mr. Fuller talking about endless arguments between black folks. Okay, for whatever reason, it is not loading, so let me remove it and then re-enter it, and it should play for us.
I would say that, and I've come up with a term, a word term, using words again, to handle situations like we have right now. And I call it Victims Guaranteed Qualification. In other words, VGQ. That's how I remember it. Victims Guaranteed, and it's listed in my word guide. Victims Guaranteed Qualification. And what is that guaranteed qualification? Because I've had these type of discussions, and I've been involved in them, and I've observed them down through the years. And black people sometimes, many times, we start confusing ourselves and each other, and we get combative sometimes over the use of words. You know, like the term Black Lives Matter. Sometimes that can start a big argument, and all that really comes out of it is a big argument between black people about whether or not they should use the word, and white lives matter, and whether or not all lives matter. And then people start arguing about that, and they're just words. So I came up with a term called Victims Guaranteed Qualification, which means anybody who wants to use any term to describe whatever his or her situation is, if that person is black, a victim of white supremacy, all right, he or she has not only the privilege but the duty to say whatever he or she wants to say. That's why I'm saying right now about this particular word, so that we don't get, all caught up in it and use 3 or 4 hours going back and forth. Use the terms that you think will work best for you. That's it. That keeps black people from getting into these endless arguments that go on and on and on and on in every beauty parlor, in every barber shop, at every meeting and whatnot, going around in a big circle, sometimes just about what words we're going to use. So you give everybody as an individual. You don't really give it to them. They have it anyway. Use whatever terms you think will work.
But what you said is
the whole purpose for using words is to get a job done. So if you saying that the system of white supremacy should be changed to a system of white inferiority, and call that system a system of inferiority, and that works for you and it works for others, then by all means use it. You don't have to get permission from Neely Fuller or anybody else. This is what I do when I write a book. I don't get anybody's permission. Indirectly, I get permission from the white supremacists. Otherwise, they would just squash my book. They would just say, we're going to squash your book and you too, because I say that they are supreme, okay? The white supremacists are supreme, which is why I wrote a book about our problem with white supremacy. But if somebody else wants to call it by a different name and say, there are some black people who say there's no such thing as white supremacy, that there's no such thing as racism, that it doesn't exist. And I don't get into an argument with people about that. I simply say, what if you come to the conclusion that racism doesn't exist and that your book is just a whole bunch of nonsense, and there's a lot of people who have said that about my book. Say, you're writing about racism. Racism don't even exist, man. That's just in your mind. If you get that out of your mind, you can go on about your business and do what you got to do. Talking about some racism. Ain't nobody telling you what to do. Ain't nobody making you do nothing. You do what you want to do. If you're a real man, I've had people say that to me. And my response has been, I'm not going to argue with you. If you believe that, go with it all the way and see where it'll take you.
All right, so that was Mr. Fuller talking about people's choice of words. And I mean, I wanted to play that for that Fuller right, because this person likes to come on Black Talk Radio Network and talk about the words that people are using and just want to squabble with other victims for no good reason. Come on. So this is, again, I find this to be, I'm not going to say widespread, but I've come across it more than once with Fuller rights. is that, you know, they want to beat up on other victims because they have read Mr. Fuller's code book and they know these phrases and they know these terms. And if you don't know these phrases and you don't know these terms, then you don't understand white supremacy. If you don't use the words that I use. And Mr. Fuller himself does not teach that, as you just heard. He say, make up your own code book. Make up your own words. Make up your own terms. Work with what works for you. Okay? So stop it. Stop it. Stop going around beating up people with a stupid meme, because it is not constructive and it's not leading to the problem being solved. Stop worrying about what victims call themselves. They have the right to call themselves whatever it is they want to call themselves, because if you got a problem with black people calling themselves black, then stop calling yourself Moor, because Moor, again, is a European word that means black. And in parts of Europe, Moor is a derogatory term for black people. So stop squabbling with black people about what words they use or what, long as they trying to address a problem, long as they being constructive and instead of focusing on them, focus on the system. Go squabble with some racists. Stop squabbling with other black people. All right, this is Scotty. I'm going to call it a night. Thanks for watching. I hope this was constructive. And again, don't waste your time squabbling with these people. Know for yourself that Moor, the word literally translates to black. Know for yourself that no matter what nationality you call yourself, whatever nation you belong to, that has no bearing on whether or not the people in charge practicing racism is going to mistreat you or not. They, again, indigenous people all over the world have been almost exterminated, land stolen and whatnot, and they call themselves by their ancestral names, and it did not stop nothing. All right.